times crossing county lines just to make my name in the city. Took everything, put it on the line, cause I never break or back down. One shot is do or die, and the odds ain't looking too pretty. But I got the feeling it's my time. I know I'm taking it now. Blood, sweat, and tears, and I never looked for salvation. I worked for this for all these years, and I wouldn't break or back down. No. I fought through all my fears and all of my frustrations. I see the light is getting clear. I know I'm taking it now. It's my time, I'm taking it now. I'm taking it now. It's my time, I'm taking it now. I'm taking it now. It's my time, I'm taking it now. I'm taking it now.
10 toes down. Trying to fill up stadiums, minimum sold out. Mind, body, and soul. Got a heart full of gold. They can never hold me down. I keep my name on the low. How wild, my opponent been trying to chase for miles. The distance between looking like the West now. And my stamina adding up from setback, standing up. Look crazy, they see me and start pulling out their cameras.
This is the eNASCAR College iRacing Series.
Big dreams for a big pride.
The cars may be virtual, but the racing and scholarships are real.
Big dreams for a big pride. We got big bags, they got big clouds. They big mad that we big guy. They turn a big dream to a big profit. I turn a big dream to a big profit. We got big bags, they got big clouds. They big mad that we big guy. I turn a big dream to a big profit. I turn a big dream to a big profit.
Good evening, race fans, and welcome to iRacing's coverage of the fifth race for the 2024.
And welcome everybody to the virtual Watkins Glen International here in Watkins Glen, New York, as we get ready for round number 5 of the eNASCAR College iRacing Series. I'm Joshua Lee, joined by Taylor Burris and joined by hopefully James Pike, who will get back in just a moment. But Taylor, so far this season we have seen drivers in the trucks, we've seen drivers in the Xfinity cars, and now we're back to the Xfinity cars at a road course, which is of course going to throw a couple of wrenches into our proceedings tonight.
Well, it's a great way to shake the rust off of these drivers who just got done with the holiday break. I mean, if you think about it, the last time we raced, we have had now a couple of new championships crowned in the college world of sports. So a lot to think about, a lot to look ahead. And, of course, some of the drivers who are racing here are going to be some of the new drivers that we'll see competing in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series.
Lots of stuff, I think, to be excited for in this new year, this new semester of college series action. And Josh, you touched on it. It's the only time we go road course racing in this series throughout 2024-25. A reminder to all of you that if you are so inclined, drivers, here's a chance to start your engines, because students that compete in the eNASCAR College iRacing Series and participate in at least one time attack event will automatically be entered for a chance to win one of 8 prize packs, including a Logitech G923 True Force racing wheel and pedal sets for the Xbox and PC, and $30 in iRacing credits. You can visit playflycollege.gg for more info. So an opportunity for all of our drivers in the college series to take part in this. Taylor, here's a look at the schedule, where we've been and where we're going in 2025.
We kicked off 2024 season with, of course, a great wide variety of tracks, from 2-mile circuits, super speedways, short tracks, and 1.5 miles. And, of course, now we're doing the twisty bits with the road course here at Watkins Glen. But we'll be back at it once again at the super speedways, the short tracks, and the 1.5 miles. We'll be at Talladega in February with the trucks, Iowa with the Xfinity cars in March, and then a doubleheader in April, where we'll have Charlotte on April's Fool's Day and April 15th at the Homestead Miami Speedway to round out the season. It's going to be an exciting one to see how those 4 races will go.
A championship in Homestead Miami with a lot of money on the line. Let's take a look at tonight's track analysis, courtesy of Playfly College Esports with Josh Lee.
Well, we're back at the Watkins Glen International Raceway, which we've been to before in the eNASCAR College iRacing Series. In these cars, 7 turns on this cup configuration, or just a little shy of 2.5 miles long. And it's been a mainstay of the NASCAR calendar for many, many years. And we saw Stephen Wilson from University of Iowa go to victory lane last time we were here. Will we see anybody else go in the way of Stephen Wilson, or will Stephen Wilson do it again? He's in the roster tonight, James. This is going to be exciting.
Stephen Wilson with an opportunity to repeat. Matthew Swack with an opportunity to go back-to-back. He won last time out when we were at Michigan in November. Taylor Burris, here's the point standings coming into this evening, and we talk a lot about Stephen Wilson. He's tied with Logan Clampett out of Cal State Fullerton for the points lead entering tonight.
I mean, if you look at it, you have pretty much the top 15 just about separated by 20 points. The top 20 by 30. A lot up for grabs there. Parker White just looking to fight his way in to have a shot of leading the point standing, especially given the fact we're at one of his wheelhouses racing here at a road course. We'll be excited to see what he can do tonight. But a lot of other drivers who are looking to maybe progress their way further, especially with a track that is different and what we're not used to seeing normally on the calendar schedule.
The top 6 within 10 points, the top 14 within at 20 points. Lots of fun to be had tonight. Josh Lee, let's go through tonight's starting grid.
On the pole, who else but University of Maine at August's Parker White. To his outside, Stephen Wilson, the reigning winner here at Watkins Glen out of Iowa. Cal State Fullerton's Logan Clampett on row 2 with James Cecioli out of Eastern Washington to the outside of row 2. Reynolds Community College, Joe Armstrong with Daniel Folkingham out of University of Maine at Machias to round out the first 3 rows.
Moving into row number 4 from Triton College is Adam Garza with newcomer to the eNASCAR series. Of course, going to be University of Calgary's Connor Yarashak. And of course, your college football champions, the Ohio State Buckeyes. They're going to be represented by Matthew Morton. And rounding out your top 10, the Sooners, Mario Miranda from Oklahoma. And then row number 6, of course, we will see Dylan Ault from Cal State Sacramento and Daniel Nenny from Ball State.
Row 7 starts off with UNOH's Isaac Shelley and Jose Solis Jr. representing the Yukon Huskies. Roll off from 14th, 15th on the grid. The Patriot out of George Mason. It's Zach Sprouse and A.J. Hyder starts 16th, representing St. John's River Community College. It's Purdue University at Indianapolis's Jacob Bradley and Longwood's Jeremy Burns making up 17th and 18th on the grid.
Inside of row 10, Peter Irons out of Winona State with Daniel Silvestri out of Virginia Tech to his outside. Maryland's Elliott White and Grand Valley State's Nathan Keister are going to share the 11th row. And rounding out the top 12 rows, Jake Cummings out of Converse College and Christian Charbonneau out of Dallas Baptist.
On into row number 13, we'll find Aaron Brown from Eastern Shores Community College with Matt Spalding from Connecticut State Community College. Thomas Kuhman will be in there representing Missouri, followed by John Forbes Jr. from Saddleback College. Moving on to row 15, it will be Caleb Brown from Missouri S&T and Drew Chua from Chattahoochee Technical College.
Final 7 cars look like this. A debut for Belmont Abbey College in the A main here in the College Series. They're represented by Jake Innes on the inside of row 16. To his outside, the man who went to victory lane in the College Series most recently at Michigan in November, Matthew Zwack, representing the Wolverines. Abraham Vila rolls off from the inside of row 17 out of San Jacinto Community Colleges. To his outside, Western Connecticut State's Jonathan Evans. Nathan Scott represents the Rebels of UNLV, starting 35th, 36th on the grid, representing Purdue University in Indianapolis, Nick Lucci. The final starter on this grid, Connor Trafari out of the University at South Carolina at Beaufort. 37 cars to take the field here, and I think a lot to be made about this points battle, Josh Lee. Not only do we have so many drivers right on top of each other in the standings, but you look at the top 10 in particular, so many of the heavy hitters on a track that really can separate you. You see driving talent come out here more than just about anywhere else in the College Series, and this is a chance to distance yourself from the pack if you have a good run tonight.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, James. Everybody that is at the top of the points, it's also at the top of our qualifying leaderboard and the grid going into tonight's race. I mean, these drivers are going to be fighting for any point they possibly can get, and that sounds easy, but when you're fighting against the other drivers that are also going for every point possible, you're going to run into some problems, and I think we're going to see that at the front of this field and see who can pull away and who can conquer the strategy the best as well.
Strategy also going to play into this. When you make the pit stop will be important. Let's take a look while we're on that topic at tonight's Logitech G race analysis. Taylor Burris.
Well, of course, this is going to be interesting. 31 laps here today, so a lot of things that can come into play with strategy calls of when to come down pit road. Of course, this is a fixed setup, so they are utilizing, everyone's got the same deal. Of course, the restart zone is in effect. Drivers will need to make at least that one pit stop. The question is going to be, when will you do it? Will you want to get it done early, wait to the halfway point, or stretch it as far as you can on a tank of fuel to have the freshest tires at the end of the race? That is going to be the determining factor of who comes out with a strong finish and who ends up at the tail end of the field.
I think also worth noting in this is what's happening around you and whether or not you have the ability to come out on clean racetrack if you pit early. If you're buried in traffic, make that move early. If you got clean racetrack, keep it as long as you can so you can run your laps, your pace, your time. That too, I think, could factor into who wins tonight. We are all set for the first eNASCAR race of 2025. Parker White leads us underneath the flag stand, and we are green in the eNASCAR College iRacing Series at Watkins Glen. And immediately we've got drivers trying to look into some great passing opportunities at turn one. We know how crazy it can get. Josh Lee already 3 and 4 wide before we hit the first quarter.
Looking for real estate is pretty much everybody in this field as they go up through the S's. This could be a crucial portion of this race, James, especially the first time into the inner loop. They're going to go down the long back straightaway. They're going to hit the inner loop, shift from fourth all the way down to second, and we've already got blocking down the back straightaway. That was Adam Garza trying to make a move from seventh.
Adam Garza went all the way to the wall, and Dylan All is Isaac Shelley representing UNOH, misses the bus stop, so is going to lose a few spots just at that. Serving the penalty, one other car in the back also missed the bus stop. Couldn't quite tell who it was immediately, but Parker White is already clear of this group by about half a second on Steven Wilson. Good battle between Clampett and Armstrong, and I want to keep an eye on that little group. Falkenham, Yerashak, Garza, and All 5th through 8th. We saw the move from Garza that early. Does that factor into how Dylan Alt races him? Does that factor into how Alt bothers with anybody else? Worth keeping that filed away in your memory bank just in case we see those two come together again, Taylor.
Absolutely. Right now, though, single file for most of the field as they dive it down into the 90 turn one. A couple of drivers starting to poke their nose a little bit, thinking about it. That is going to be the key passing opportunity. We'll see a lot of drivers set themselves up when we progress further in the run as they snake their way up to the S's. Couple little further battles back in the field. This is the battle for 24th between Brown, White, Spalding, and Coonan, of course, as they try to find their opening. You can't really go 2 by 2 unless you want to end up into the Armco barrier here, and that is definitely what you don't want to have happen, especially this early on.
The top of the S is there right before you come in the back straight is one of the trickiest places on this racetrack, in part because it's arguably the most narrow point on this racetrack, but you also crest the hill and you sort of lose the gravity on the rear end of the car, and it's easy to get the thing fishtailing and sliding out from underneath you at that point. You just sort of lose it. It's sort of like the top of a roller coaster a little bit, so you sort of have to tread lightly in that spot before you can mash the gas pedal and get back to it down that really long back straightaway into the bus stop where you can carry so much speed. We get a good sense of some of the battles here. Joe Armstrong has 4th. Daniel Falkingham has 5th. Falkingham, former winner in competition here in the eNASCAR College iRacing Series, would like to move up a little bit further. Joe Armstrong, a newcomer representing the Rams of Virginia Commonwealth.
And as they fight their way through one and back up the S's, what you were mentioning, James, of those cars kind of getting very light in the rear end. These Xfinity cars don't have the rear diffuser that the NASCAR next-gen machines they're using in the Cup Series do. They do not have that help of the rear grip. They barely have a spoiler on the back of these cars. It makes very low downforce, and as they go up the S's and into 4th gear here and have to brake all the way down, not a sequential shifter either. 8th pattern from 3rd down to 2nd, slamming the gears to get it through the inner loop. What we're seeing that these drivers are doing in the sim, much like the real world as well, as the Armstrong and Falkingham battle continues, and Falkingham stays right on the back bumper of the Toyota Supra in front.
Josh, I think a lot of the points that you made illustrate in large part why this vehicle for the NASCAR Xfinity Series in real life may be the most difficult to road race in all of NASCAR, because you don't have the sequential shifter, you do have to use that H-pattern gearbox, you do have to hit the clutch every time you downshift, and you also have that straight rear axle as well. No independent rear suspension on these cars like you find in the vehicles in the NASCAR Cup Series. So Taylor, this thing is an absolute handful when you marry all that to the little extra torque that this provides. As we see a little bit of drift there, Falkingham and Armstrong sent it off into one, and Armstrong came out of there a little bit better than Falkingham, gapped it by about 2 car lengths on that one corner.
Yeah, he had a really good run coming out of the 90 as they come up to the top of the hill for the S's, but as they work their way through, got to take a look at this replay, though, coming up, as they just point out some of the trickiness that you have to go through. Let's take a look here right at the moment as we watch on. This is, of course, Evans. He'll go side by side with Trafari and Lucci as well as they head into the bus stop. This is where we see a lot of contact, and right there, Evans loops it around. Of course, no sand trap, so he's not going to get stuck right there. And then, of course, for Scott from the University of Las Vegas, he unfortunately loops around coming off the exit, which is another area where we see a lot of cars get together.
I wonder if he counts as a rebel with a cause to try and drive back up towards the front, Josh Lee, or do I need to see myself out on that one?
See yourself out on that one. Stage left.
Okay. Also worth noting that Evan Pasoko, the commentator who does a wonderful job leading the broadcast of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, which returns next month, is a UNLV alumnus as well. So he won't be too happy about how that incident played out as we return to this battle between Garza and Alt. Consistently, I've been sort of keeping my eye on lap timing and scoring. This has been the battle, I think, that has been the most intense, especially within the top 10. We saw that big block from Garza, lap 1 of the back straightaway. Alt has not been able to pass him, but Garza's not been able to get away either.
And Garza representing Triton College, Dylan Alt representing Cal State Sacramento as they race down the back straightaway, and everybody kind of single file right now, seeing what they've got when it comes to speed and seeing what they got when it comes to the long run, as they're also catching up to the driver in front. That is Connor Yurashak as we go on board with Chicago, Illinois' Adam Garza. Mentioned he's representing Triton College, currently in school and for communications and mass communications and multimedia, freshman at Triton College as he races on from P7 with Dylan Alt, the Coach Series driver, breathing down his neck.
Alt, Coach Series driver again for 2025. Also worth noting on Garza, credit to him, he's got a Chicago street course hat from the NASCAR race weekend there over the last 2 years of the 4th of July. In the background of his setup, I think I see a NASCAR branded hat as well. So Garza pretty active in the Chicagoland scene, getting out to the big event that NASCAR's done such a fantastic job with in real life over the last few years. And it's been a place to represent some eNASCAR action too, broadcasted live from Navy Pier. Did the Coach Series when they went to the virtual Chicago street course last year. Here's Steven Wilson, one of the perennial favorites in this eNASCAR College iRacing Series, the 2023 Coach Series champion and the Iowa Hawkeye, who has not let Parker White go. White representing the University of Maine at Augusta still there. Wilson's closed the gap a bit, but it's been stable, Taylor. It's about 4 to 5 tenths, call it 2 or 3 car lengths, depending on where they are on the racetrack, pretty consistently so far.
Yeah, both of them have been trading fast lap after fast lap each and every time. As we watch there, you see Parker White with the 2024 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series Championship trophy. Wilson with his trophy right there. So the two champions battling it out here at the twists and turns of Watkins Glen as they come out of the final corner here. Let's see how they're doing. Currently about half a second separates the two of them. Of course, both of them well reputable when it comes to their road racing. Wilson, of course, we see win last year in the College Series, and Parker White, he knows a thing or two about road course racing as well, competing in multiple different levels in the world of iRacing as well, as they come out of the 90 and pretty much have checked out from the competition over 2 seconds ahead of pretty much the rest of the field. Logan Clampett sitting third all by himself.
I'd like to point out a little bit of iRacing broadcasting history, because I do believe we have some here, gentlemen. But if you look at the background of the onboards of Parker White and Steven Wilson, Taylor, you mentioned it, both of them have the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Trophy that they were awarded for winning their respective Coach Series championships in 23 and 24, respectively. Josh Lee, to my knowledge, this is the first time ever that I can recall that we've had onboards on a shot like this where both drivers have Dale Earnhardt Jr. trophies in the background. So 2 of those on the screen for the first time ever. A little bit of fun trivia and history for those of you watching this evening.
And those beautiful Dale Earnhardt Jr. trophies looking very nice in the background of both of those shots. And both of these former eNASCAR champions are checking out from the field as well. I'd be remiss if I said I was shocked that Parker White and Steven Wilson were setting the pace at the front of the field. And Logan Clampett about 2 seconds behind race leader Parker White right now. He's not going anywhere anytime soon. He's still there, running a couple of tenths slower that last time by than both of the leaders, but still keeping him nice and reeled in as we hop back to closer to the mid-pack. Battle for around P12. This is Daniel Manny, Zach Sprouse, Jose Solis Jr., and AJ Hyder racing on. And it's kind of what we're seeing, James. Pockets of battles, cars running single file, really kind of waiting for somebody in front of them to make a mistake, which honestly for these drivers in the mid-pack, I'm expecting a lot more than the drivers running top 5, especially top 3 right now.
You will see them bunch up a little bit more as we move our way through the field, and this has been a pretty good battle pack throughout this. And worth noting here, especially for the drivers who aren't already competing in the Coach Series, that for the top 2 drivers at the season ends points who are not competing in the Coach Series already, they will get invitations to round 2 of the eNASCAR qualifying iRacing Series, which takes place over the summer of 2025. There will be 72 drivers in that round, expanded from the 70 that featured 1 year ago. So something big for these drivers to race for if they're not in the Coach Series. And right now, the highest running driver outside of the Coach Series would be Joe Armstrong from VCU in 4th. Great run for him as we go on board with East Hartford, Connecticut's Jose Solis Jr. We mentioned that I believe it was, Matthew Morton representing the Ohio State University and the now defending college football champions. You've got Jose Solis here representing the defending college basketball champions. Taylor?
Absolutely. But of course, you mentioned, of course, the drivers who are the highest in the championship standings. One of those drivers who is in the hunt to move on is, of course, the driver of Zach Sprouse. We saw we're on board now with Jake Cummings as he works his way around the circuit. Really good run. He's currently 22nd. He's picked up a couple of spots, but for the Packtown, North Carolina driver, he is really trying to make sure he hits his marks, goes over the curbing, really good to get some momentum and utilize that to catch on. Got to be careful not going too far over the grass right there. You will get a cut through course penalty, which could be detrimental to losing time on your competitors.
Josh, I think Jake Cummings represents a great story that really, I think, is symbolic of the growth of the College Series. I spoke with Jake. He was present for the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series Championship at the NASCAR Hall of Fame in Charlotte back in October of last year. And I talked to the Packtown, North Carolina native, and he told me that he had put together an NIL deal with Converse to help build their esports program and to make iRacing and eNASCAR a pillar of it long term. It's part of what got him to Converse. And so he's working with the college to try and build up a program where it's not just him, it's other people as well. And you think of some of the other schools that traditionally have been really strong in this, that had good programs. UNC Charlotte, the 49ers with their engineering program comes immediately to mind. That's what Jake Cummings is trying to build. But I think that also shows the growth of the College Series, that in a few years we've gone from nothing to people putting together NIL deals.
I think that's not only one of the beautiful things, James, about the eNASCAR College iRacing Series, but kind of also what it's meant to a lot of these colleges that maybe didn't have an esports program. Maybe their introduction to esports is the eNASCAR College iRacing Series. They can kind of take a look at esports as a whole, not just on iRacing, but elsewhere as well, that esports can be a growing business and a growing spot for collegiate esports. That's what we've seen the last couple of seasons of the eNASCAR College iRacing Series, and what we continue to see as the eNASCAR College iRacing Series continues. I'm excited to see what Jake Cummings can do. The Packtown, North Carolina driver representing Converse is still running P22.
As the field works their way around, we'll take a look at a replay here. Isaac Shelley had a bit of a moment coming down the back straightaway and into the bus stop. The UNOH driver gets on the brakes here and just turns a little bit too early into the corner. You can see the damage on the right front, not only to the bodywork, but the suspension there, Taylor. So trouble for Isaac Shelley, and the UNOH driver with some damage to the left front, currently running in the 18th position, but now under fire from Jacob Bradley and Peter Irons.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough break right there for the handling of that car, as well as we pick him up a little bit further back. He's got a gaggle of cars now encroaching upon him as they head back into the bus stop. Let's see if he can be a little bit careful. That's Bradley right there behind, trying to show the nose as they crest over the curbing. Careful not to see what will happen. And here comes a big move right now by Irons, trying to push Bradley up to get around on the bottom of the racetrack through the carousel. We have two separate battles to keep an eye on now. That battle for 18th with Irons and Bradley, and then Dylan Oak trying to find his way further up the field inside the top 8.
Peter Irons, a driver who I think especially in the last year has really grown and shown some speed in a lot of independent leagues and races here on iRacing. Had the opportunity to call him to a league championship that ran throughout the full year last year back in November. Just really impressive in his independence, in his league races, in his official races. And I think you look at characters that come out of this College Series and establish themselves as names. I would look at the Rochester, Minnesota native as one that I think you want to watch. As Shelley goes wide over in turn 1, and that opens up the door for Jeremy Byrne, or rather Jacob Bradley, to get the spot, and Irons will be next in line to take over 19 if Shelley cannot hang on.
been saying you got to watch Peter Irons, James. That is nothing new to me, but Jacob Bradley goes by Isaac Shelley, and I just looked on board with Shelley, James, to see if he was dealing with any suspension damage, any wheel damage. Didn't look like that wheel was as straight on the straightaway as it really should be. Peter Irons did just get by, but we go triple box, race for 5th, race for 18th, race for 30th. We've got things happening all over this racetrack.
Are you particularly surprised, Taylor Burris, that that top battle there, it's Dylan Alt and Adam Garza in it? I think the more interesting thing, though, is that they've been able to drag Daniel Falkingham back into this. Falkingham was a little bit further up the road from these two, but he's been pulled back, and James Scioli is now all over the rear bumper of Adam Garza. So this was a 2-car battle. It's now a legitimate 4-car battle for 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th on the racetrack.
Yeah, these drivers here of Garza, Scioli, and Alt have been slowly reeling in Falkingham lap after lap, putting on a great effort to try and chase him down. And Falkingham starting to struggle a little bit here. We are approaching the halfway point of the race. So now is the time to question who is going to be the first one to make that blink down onto pit road and try to get themselves into fresh, clean air and fresh tires, as well as we watch them work their way through. Alt shows a little bit of an opportunity to maybe set up a pass. Falkingham, though, does a great job through the bus stop in order to hold position as they come out of the carousel.
Falkingham, Alt, Garza, it's maybe a car length between them. Scioli as well. Matthew Morton representing the Ohio State Buckeyes, the next one in line, but about a second back of Scioli in 9th. So there's a little bit of space here between these 4 and everybody else. And that 3rd box there down on the bottom right, you can see the driver representing the University of Missouri at Columbia, Thomas Coonan. The Tiger there ran into trouble and ends up off the racetrack just a little bit.
Falkingham and Alt still setting the pace for each other from 6th. We're still watching an Irons versus Bradley battle in 18th, but that battle for 30th, James, is heating up, mainly just because everybody's under a blanket. Connor Treferi, who did not put a time in qualifying, is trying to claw his way through the field. He's up now into 31st as he gets a nose in front of Thomas Coonan to the inside of 1. Does it stay? Coonan almost makes contact with Abraham Vila behind. Right now it's for Thomas Coonan. He's representing Missouri, University of Missouri at Columbia, fighting Abraham Vila, representing San Jacinto from Pasadena, Texas.
Texas, not California. The California one's a little bit more famous, but Texas is the one that you want for Vila, who's going to get past Missouri S&T's Caleb Bryan, take that spot, move up into the 33rd position. Good battle back here. You've got Coonan, Vila, Caleb Bryan, and then you've got Jake Ennis, who mentioned him in the starting grid. Belmont Abbey College's first appearance in the College Series.
We're still watching that battle back there for 30th, James, and kind of right now throughout the leaderboard, looking at my timing, 25th on back, relatively close together. Biggest gap in between these cars is around 7/10. You go up to the front, biggest gap is around 5.3. That's the battle between 3rd and 4th. Clamp it back to Armstrong, but the drivers back here are not afraid to get aggressive. They're not afraid to race for some points, because every position matters when it comes to the point standings. We're seeing how important that is to some of these drivers that are clawing for a bit of points back there.
Really good battles here, so let's ride on board with Eastern Washington's James Scioli and tonight's Play Fly College Esports on board. They are all over each other for the 30th position. John Forbes Jr. out of Saddleback College is the one leading this charge, but you've got Trafari, Vela, Brian, and Ennis all behind him. So 5 cars fighting for 4 spots, and Luke G just ahead of this in 29th, but not terribly far off the racetrack.
Field is doing a great job here as we watch Trafari, home of the Sand Sharks, as he tries to find his opening. He'll nearly push Forbes Jr. a little bit up the track as he makes slight contact, but gathers himself back up through the carousel. Trafari just can't, he seems to be getting those decent run as he's got to slow it down though, cut the course a little bit. Tough break right there. He now has to be careful falling into the clutches of Abraham Vila right there behind us. We go Shelley and Charbonneau battling for position. Shelley still trying to hold on with that damaged race car as we see Charbonneau go around the outside with White right there in tow. Lucci follows suit as Shelley just has to give way, unfortunately, due to the significant damage of his machine.
The damage has hurt Shelley significantly. Was at 29th of the line, now back to 30th as Forbes is going to get around the outside. And the damage is already going to be started in the 13th position. He's dropped almost, or rather more than 15 spots at this point. So Shelley, I think more than anybody, maybe a candidate to short pit this and come down early, get the damage fixed, get the fuel that you need, and get some clean racetrack. As we look on board here on the top of your screen, you've got that battle for 4th that still is going on. This is Joe Armstrong and Connor Yarashak, who's been able to drive his University of Calgary Dinos machine up to the VCU Ram of Armstrong in 4th.
As we watch Shelley continue to drop, James, right now he's fighting the car. He's not fighting the racetrack. He's not fighting other drivers. He's fighting the car. The fight on the racetrack, though, is for that battle for 4th. Joe Armstrong and Connor Yarashak. Joe Armstrong, you mentioned it earlier, representing Rails, and from behind, Connor Yarashak representing Calgary. Both of them fighting for P4 right now through turn number 1 as they head back up the S's.
That might be one of the best mascot battles we've got. The VCU Rams and the Calgary Dinos. Does it get much better, Taylor Burris?
I mean, absolutely not. I mean, that is some of the most interesting ones. When I was doing some research about the Calgary team, I mean, it's incredible that they have dinos, and it's like, you can't go wrong with it. There, you see it right there, trying to catch up to the VCU Rams as they work their way through the bus stop. And a little bit of a bobble right there, but a great run right here by Yarashak, of course, who was one of the top competitors in the Road to Pro qualifying series in 2024.
He was indeed champion of round 2 of the qualifying series last year, and then qualified for the Contender Series and made it to the Coke Series. Will compete with Letarte Esports in 2025. First car on pit road there, that was Christian Charbonneau out of Dallas Baptist, but pit stops happening on lap 18. And worth noting, 18 of 31. So 14 laps to go, we're already halfway through. But these drivers now with the opportunity to come down pit road if they so choose. So the window is open. The question is, how long does it stretch?
Worth noting as well, James, Isaac Shelley did join Christian Charbonneau down into the pit lane that last time by. He is right now crossing north of 35 seconds in the box, getting all that damage fixed as much as he possibly can. But through the rest of this field, especially these drivers that are in tight battles, we're continuing to watch this battle for 4th between Armstrong and Yarashak. It's a tight battle with Garza, with Cicioli, with Alt back there for P6. There's a couple of other tight battles through the midfield. When do they choose to pit? Is it going to be a point where they do whatever the driver in front of them doesn't do? Will Parker White set the pace? Thomas Coonan from Missouri is heading in now.
Coonan was in, also Isaac Shelley. We talked about the damage on his car and how he may be a beneficiary of an early pit stop just to get that thing fixed up. So he is getting the damage repaired on his car. He is on pit road. Yarashak has not been able to get around Joe Armstrong yet. I wonder if Yarashak presses for a few laps. If you can't make this pass, Taylor Burris, do you just decide to come on in early and short pit and maybe take the, I guess, the undercut and make it work?
I mean, you can try and do that here, but also the problem is you got to be careful with how much traffic you're going to have to negotiate. Yes, you'll have clean air for a few moments, but seeing how long everyone's trying to stretch it out right now, you might have to deal with negotiating through the traffic, which could make you use your equipment up pretty quickly. So it's going to be difficult to see how it all plays out.
Worth noting here as we go on board with Jake Ennis that deltas will be important, but Ennis. So we on this broadcast like to talk a lot about how our producer gets a lot of love. He's got some folks from Belmont Abbey. Is there's trouble just ahead on the racetrack? I believe there might be Connor Trafari that went sideways, but we know how our producer Drew Adamson loves his Ball State Cardinals. First time that Belmont Abbey has made it into the A main, and yours truly, as a Crusader alum, is at the risk of being a little bit biased, more so than usual, very proud to see his school in there as we see the battle jump out and have a really, really good fight between Yereshak and Armstrong. They continue to just about go after each other, but I guess Josh Lee, Taylor Burris, we're waiting for your schools to make it, as Yereshak's going to finally make the pass and make it happen and maybe muscle Armstrong out of the way. I think he sort of ran out of patience there at the end. So Yereshak now with the pass. Does he come down pit road this time? No, he doesn't. Okay, so we had that battle there. Almost got crazy, but yes, as a very proud Belmont Abbey alum and part of the Motorsport Management Program too, like Jake Innes is, that's a program that for as much as we see the engineering side prevalent in schools, the Motorsport Management Program at the Abbey focuses more on the business of motorsports. So if you have an interest in public relations, communications, marketing, administration of a team, management of facilities, that side of racing, we're checking out Belmont Abbey College.edu and logging into their Motorsports Management Program. But as an alum, very proud to see my school involved in this for the first time. And Josh Lee and Taylor Burris, I suppose now the challenge is on to you to get your schools involved.
Like I said, you're going to be waiting a while for my school to get involved, as I went straight to work and straight onto tour and just did not go to college, Taylor. So
Same.
I guess we might get yours. Oh, okay, we're both the same. So we got James's in and we're good. We got it figured out.
I mean, we have probably favorite. Here we go.
Well, we'll come back to that discussion here in a little bit. We'll take a look at a replay. And this is what happened to Connor Jafari. We were talking about this as we were explaining Jake Innes and the Belmont Abbey machine. This is Jafari getting very sideways off the fence, off that final corner, just about, maybe did, in fact, smack the inside wall and save it and then come back to it. So that's what happened with Jafari. To continue on with the point that you're making, so Josh Lee, I guess if we need the fighting briefcases at some point, maybe we can get you in. Taylor Burris, what about you? Is there a school you'd like to see involved in the college series at some point?
I mean, we've seen a couple of them. We have my former home state with Florida, University of Florida, who has not been in it here recently. You see it in the preview, but not in the race itself. And then, of course, where I currently live here in Texas, of course, the University of Texas as well. And we'll see how that plays out. We have seen University of Texas compete in the college series in the past events.
I believe that's right. Yes, we have seen some people bring some Texas fight into this, and we have seen some boys from old Florida also in this as well in recent years. But that's part of what makes this so interesting, I think, Josh Lee, is that there's no guarantee per se for any one school or one driver to make it. You have to time attack your way in every single race, and especially at a place like Watkins Glen, if you're a little bit more of a road racer than you are an oval racer, this represents an opportunity for you that you might not necessarily be able to take advantage of, because there's scholarship money on the line, but you don't necessarily have to point your way in over the course of a season. If you're just exclusively a road racing specialist, you think of like maybe a Ron Fellows or somebody of that ilk in particular, then I would say this is something you want to look into, because maybe you can come away with some scholarship money at the end, Josh.
This is one of the great things about esports and about competing at the collegiate esports level, is we got to give some love to the Ohio State University and Matthew Morton, who's representing them on the track tonight. Congratulations on their national championship that they won the other night, and maybe they'll get back to a victory way tonight. But Matthew Morton running in P9, James, he's going to need to get a little bit further up the road if he wants to match his college this week.
I guess it's fight the team across the track instead of field tonight, perhaps, Josh? Is that how it works?
I think that's how it works, and unfortunately I'm not seeing any Notre Dame entries tonight. So they lost twice in 1 week. Ugh, that's not good.
I think you think about just how that's pivoted in a year. Last year when Michigan won the title, it was not exactly happy times for folks in Columbus and those associated. And now you go from the lowest of lows to the highest of highs. I think we definitely saw that Ohio was here last night. Fabulous game for the Buckeyes. And Matthew Morton trying to do the same. He's in a top 10 spot, and he has the opportunity to win some scholarship money. Would come home with some if the race were to end now, plenty to go, but he would get there, and then Mario Miranda would too, as there's this big group just behind them. AJ Heiner, Zach Sprouse leading this charge. These drivers all still have to make pit stops. Most drivers do have to make pit stops at some point. Looks like a lot of people trying to run long on the front end and then maybe go short on the back end, but it's the top 10 that get scholarship money. So Sprouse, Hyder, one more car here, I think Daniel Silvestri, the Hokie out of Virginia Tech. They all need to settle this, because yes, it's fun to fight each other, but if you want scholarship money, you have to go catch Daniel Falkingham and Mario Miranda those two are the two battling for the final scholarship position and the last little slice of the pie this evening. And if you can finish in 10th, you can get a little bit of money, $100 to the 10th place finisher. Let's take a look here. We'll get a good sense of what's been happening between Daniel Nanny and Zach Sprouse in this battle. This is working through the final section of the racetrack. Big send there from Sprouse, who got inside of Nanny and then ran him up the racetrack, ran him off the racetrack, and got everybody back on. And so Nanny managed to get back on without too much trouble. Sprouse got the spot, and then had to slide in behind Hyder and Sprouse as they continue to fight. But Sprouse really starting to separate himself as we see Nanny get into Silvestri and almost turn Silvestri and get Silvestri sideways. Big time fight there as Nanny got into him and Silvestri gets moved. So the Cardinal moves the Hokie. I guess Cardinals maybe more powerful than turkeys, perhaps. Sir How? Somehow, maybe, perhaps. So, Taylor?
I mean, I had to say probably throw the flag out, personal foul on the Nanny.
15 yards?
More probably by how that looked.
Spotted the foul.
Yeah, intentional wrecking right there by the looks of it. But hey, we'll see what the officials call on that, of course, and we'll see what will happen for the Ball State driver. But he is going to continue on with positions as he's got Hyder, Solis Jr., Burns, and then Silvestri, the Hokie, trying to catch back up and possibly may return the favor. We'll see what happens. He could play it clean and show that he has what it takes to beat the Ball State driver in tonight's event with 7 to go.
But Josh, do you think that's pressure? Because reading into this and just looking at the way that Zach Sprouse has been able to get away from this group, it's a 1.8 second gap to Sprouse. Remember, he was right in this mix a few laps ago. So I wonder, if you're Nanny, if you see Sprouse running away from you up the racetrack, do you feel a little bit of pressure to make a move so that you have clean track positions, so that you can try to stay on Sprouse's rear bumper? Is maybe that where that came from?
I know I'd feel the pressure, and I think that's what Daniel Nanny also felt in that moment as well, and maybe misjudged it a little bit going into that corner. We gotta also mention that this track is just tough to get around. It might only be 7 turns. It's not super long. It's not super technical, but it is a tough racetrack to get around, especially those very slow, very methodical 90-degree turns that end this racetrack in turns 6 and 7. Nanny might have just misjudged it a little bit and got into Silvestri out of Virginia Tech, but that was a little bit of ACC violence there as they went through turn 6, James.
Bit of battling here, a little fighting there. That's how it goes in the eNASCAR College iRacing Series. Lots of fun to be had. Tonight's broadcast of the eNASCAR College iRacing Series is brought to you by Logitech G. Through design, engineering, and a love of driving games, Logitech G takes racing simulation to another level. Logitech G, the official wheel and pedals of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. And by Playfly College Esports. A new name, but a same amazing experience. Visit playflycollege.gg for collegiate esports competitions, merchandise, news, and more. 5 laps to go. How quickly this race has flown by. Parker White up ahead of Steven Wilson by 1.5 seconds. But really good battles here all the way through this field. We keep an eye on this group with Daniel Nanny that has continued to stay pretty tight and compact throughout this race. And then you've got James Scioli and Dylan Alt within the top 10, all fighting for spots. And a reminder, we touched on it a few moments ago, but I want to circle back to it, that in this race, there are almost $4,000 of scholarship money that will be given out across the top 10. If you finish in the top 10, you get a little bit. It ranges from $1,000 to your race winner and scholarship money down to $100 for the person who finishes in 10th, which right now would be the University of Oklahoma's Mario Miranda. And the problem for all these drivers, as we mentioned, is that they are just not near Miranda at this point. They've got to make some moves. You can sort of see it there on the top of our triple box there. You can see Miranda, that crimson and cream machine, as they like to call it in Norman. He's the last one just on the back of this shot that features James Scioli, but he's in 10th. And then we got a good look there down the sort of inner loop straight there. Good sense of just how far back these drivers are. And you can just about stitch these shots together and see where Miranda is in relation to that battle for 13th in particular.
Absolutely, as we will pick up Cummins right here as they come out of the final corners. And there, of course, is the college prize pool for the top 10. Of course, $1,000 to the winner, and then all the way to $100 to 10th place. So you want to be in that 10th spot to get in a shot of the money. And, of course, a lot of these drivers looking to see what they can do here. Of course, this is through the top 8 races of the season.
All with the idea of qualifying for that very last race at Homestead, Miami. That's the only one where points do determine things, but the payouts go up significantly. That's your payout for the top 10 when we get to Homestead Miami Speedway in April to crown a College Series champion for 2024-25. $10,000 on offer to the driver who walks away the champion of the College Series for this school year, and $1,000 if you can finish within the top 10. So lots, I think, to play for yet, and even in a race like this. But we're seeing really, really strong drivers, I think, stake their claim. White, Wilson, Clampett, all within the top 10 in points. And Connor Yarashak, I think, Josh, somebody who is making his debut in the Coach Series, and I imagine we're going to see the University of Calgary dyno factor in these College Series races for the next few years. He's shown plenty of speed, both in official and private competition on the sim, and I don't think he's slowing down anytime soon.
Yarashak is going to be one to watch this upcoming eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series season. I will put the pin in it right now, and I will say that he is going to be one to watch. But as we continue to follow this battle further back in this field, we're watching Jose Solis Jr. from P15. The real tight spot is Zach Sprouse up on the back bumper of Daniel Folkingham, and that is pushing them back into this 4-car group. Remember, James, we're still expecting pit stops here in the twilight portion of this race. That's going to throw a wrench into a couple of these battles that we're expecting to see, and everybody's been saving fuel for the duration of this race. Can anybody make it all the way to the checkered flag?
And or will we have somebody run out here in the last few laps, which would be absolutely disastrous. Now, you can save and potentially make it work, but again, main problem for this group, Folkingham leads them. Miranda is now entering the final turn on the course, and these drivers are just coming out of the next to last turn, so they've got a bit of a mini straightaway to make up. It's about 4 seconds between Miranda and Folkingham, so at this point, it's almost just a battle between this group. It would take a major mistake for Miranda to bring him back into this group and give us a battle for that final scholarship spot. But still fun to watch these battles here because these drivers just have not been able to separate themselves all night long.
Absolutely not. As we watch this battle for 11th, you have not 1, not 2, not 4, but about 7 cars in this hunt for the 11th spot. But with these 7 cars battling it out, they're not really making up any ground on Mario Miranda. And looking through at least your top 15 here, you have several bowl winners. Of course, the Ohio State winning the national championship as well. But of course, you got to point out drivers such as, of course, Jose Solis Jr., the Yukons winning the Fenway Bowl earlier in December when they went up against North Carolina at Fenway, as we are watching him battle it out in this group here inside the top 15.
White flag for your leader, Parker White, is yes. You make a great point there, Taylor. UConn did a number on Carolina, though I think a lot of folks in Chapel Hill were looking a little bit more towards the Belichick era that will start as the 6-time Super Bowl champ will have his opportunity to take the reins of the Tar Heels coming in August. And Daniel Folkingham now with the opportunity to push on and try to lock down this spot. The Maynard and the Virginian racing each other here on the last lap. Zach Sprouse with that good run down to the bottom, right to the inside of turn 1. That's been one of the best passing spots on this racetrack the entire race. Nanny in the mix there too, still side by side. Sprouse had to let up, couldn't quite get the run he needed from the inside, and what a job from Folkingham to defend from the outside and keep that place through the S's.
Tell you what, James, we might have seen a dominating performance at the front, but from the midfield on back, we have seen these battles all night long as we stand on board with Daniel Folkingham. Into the bus stop they go. Who's going to make the moves? Nobody does, but up in front, James, it's all Parker White like it's been all night.
They'll continue to fight back there. Meanwhile, Parker White at an enormous rock rain is going to take advantage of clean racetrack and win in the eNASCAR College iRacing Series at Watkins Glen. Here is the battle for the 5th spot, or rather not the 5th spot, the 11th spot is Falkingham and Sprouse are going to look to each other one more time. One more opportunity for Sprouse to potentially get into it, but Falkingham with that great run through the final two corners will lock down the position and maintain 11th. It's not good enough for scholarship money, but a fabulous shot for Falkingham nonetheless on a track that I think even he would say is not necessarily his strongest. Great run, though, for Falkingham to maintain the track position. Some of the other battles here, you see Matthew Spalding, John Forbes Jr., Matthew Zwack fighting for position, Christian Charbonneau and Caleb Bryan door-to-door here. How about this battle, Josh Lee?
And as they ascend their way into the final couple of corners, Charbonneau on the outside, to the inside goes Bryan as they fight their way. This is all the way in the back of the field. This is P33, and they're still racing like it's up front. Every point matters when you only take the top 25 for the championship. And Caleb Bryan, I think, James, ran out of fuel coming across the line. He went way off pace.
He did go way off pace, although it might make sense for Charbonneau to take advantage of a race in the springtime here. We know that Dallas Baptist finds the greatest of athletic successes at that university in their baseball program. We're about a month removed from college baseball starting up. The University of Maine at Augusta's Parker White takes home top honors in tonight's eNASCAR College iRacing Series event from Watkins Glen. Iowa's Stephen Wilson finished in second. Cal State Fullerton's Logan Clampett was third. Calgary's Connor Yarashak fourth, and VCU's Joe Armstrong. Great run for Joe Armstrong to come away with the top five. James Shelley from Eastern Washington, Sacramento State's Dylan Alt, Adam Garza, Matthew Morton, Mario Marin out of Oklahoma rounding out the top 10. They all got scholarship money this evening, Taylor.
Absolutely. And then, of course, Daniel Falkingham and Zach Sprouse, Nanny Hyder, Solis Jr., all in a very spirited battle right there for that 11th position. And then you have Virginia Tech's Daniel Silvestri, Jeremy Burns, Purdue's Jacob Bradley, Nathan Coaster, and Peter Irons rounding out your top 20.
Further back from there, Jake Cummings in 21st. Matt Spalding ends up 22nd. John Forbes Jr. 23rd. From Michigan Esports, Matthew Zwack ends up P24. Drew Joa ends up 25th. Aaron Brown, Elliott White, Nick Lucci, Abraham Vila, and James, I'll give you the honor of saying P30 right there.
Top 30 for Belmont Abbey's Jake Inish. Hashtag Abbey Life is Good. Jonathan Evans was 31st this evening. Connor Trafari was 32nd. Christian Charbonneau 33rd, and Caleb Bryan 34th. Your final three finishers this evening: UNLV's Nathan Scott, Missouri's Thomas Coonan, and Isaac Shelley out of UNOH rounded out the 37-car field. Let's take a look at what happened to Caleb Bryan on that last lap. Josh, you talked about it a little bit. Did look like he may have run out of fuel here.
Went through the bus stop, and you can see Charbonneau behind. This was coming down to the wire, James, as they go their way out of turn 5. Charbonneau got to the inside. Bryan goes way out wide. They ended up side by side. We know Charbonneau got across the start-finish line first, but as they arch their way through turn 6 and 7, we're watching Caleb Bryan in the Missouri green car. Listen in. Gotta be out of fuel, James. That engine just died off the exit of turn 7. He had no power.
And you can tell, even if we didn't have the engine noises, you can see just with the way that car wiggled on the exit of the final corner, that engine was sputtering, trying to find fuel for power, but as Charbonneau drove away, it spelled curtains for Caleb Bryan's opportunity to get the 33rd position. To Taylor Burris, who is with tonight's winner this evening out of Norwich Rock, Maine. The defending Coke Series champion starts off 25 with a College Series win. It's Parker White.
Well, Parker, first and foremost, welcome, of course, to the new year for you, champ, as we get set. Talk us through, I mean, we know your road course experience is quite amazing as it is, but you still had a pretty much an easy, smooth night, but still battling with Stephen Wilson. Walk us through what you were able to do to save that fuel and get to the end.
Yeah, I mean, I was really just hoping for like a top 5 tonight. I've been feeling well for the past day. So to run my PB and qual by 2.5 tenths was something that I certainly didn't expect. And then when I did that, I knew really it'd just be keeping the tires on it in the race. And really, as long as I did that, it was going to be pretty easy to hang on. And Steven was pretty quick. I think him and I were running the same pace basically the entire time. And I was interested to see what Clampett was going to do because I think he was back there saving his tires a bit. And he was really quick those last few laps. So, yeah, really all it was, I put it on pole and like I said, I did that. Really, all I do is just be saving the tires, and it'd just be an easy win.
Well, of course, this year we're coming back with the Coke Series, starting off with the Clash. I mean, walk us through the excitement of that, coming back to defend that trophy that's right behind you.
Yeah, I mean, winning the Coke Series Championship was certainly something I didn't expect. So now that I've actually done that, I'll definitely have a lot more confidence going into next season. And getting to see everyone at Media Day last week was a lot of fun. And looking forward to racing all these new guys this season.
Is Parker White your winner and defending eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series champion, as we are now talking next with Stephen Wilson.
Well, it was a good night for you, Stephen, as you walk away P2. We heard from Parker White that he beat his personal best in qualifying. Do you feel like you could have done anything different to best him and grab the win?
Not really, to be honest. I feel like my qualifying lap was just good enough to put one in. That's all I really wanted. And then once I was behind him, there's no shot. Parker's probably the best person, I'd say, in these cars and road courses. So I would say there was no shot at me passing him. Maybe, I turned my music up there in the middle of the race because I was getting bored and I started going faster. So maybe I could have done that. But other than that, no, he didn't make any mistakes. And I was just doing everything I could to stay in it. And I'm honestly surprised I stayed as close as I did. So I'm happy with it and we'll take it.
Well, you were tied for the points lead coming into tonight. You were able to get over Logan Clampett, who you were tied with in the points. Moving forward, representing University of Iowa, still got a long way to go before that finale. Where's the focus at as we go into Talladega, Iowa, Charlotte, and that road to Homestead?
Yeah, well, my focus, I'm probably going straight past Talladega. If it's anything like Daytona, I'm probably not going to make the race again because of everything you have to do for that. So I'm just going to go straight to the other ones and focus on that. And we have our Coke season starting up too, so I'll be focused on that too with Spire. So happy to start the season with Spire and also happy to go after another championship. Hopefully I can end my college career with a third one for the Hawks.
We look forward to seeing you here. We look forward to seeing you with the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. That is Stephen Wilson, who walks away in second place. Logan Clampett walked away third. James, you're standing by with him.
Trapico Canyon, California's Logan Clampett representing Cal State Fullerton comes away with a podium finish. And Logan, how much of road course racing, and especially in this setup with the field tonight, is about just not beating yourself and racing the track compared to racing everybody else?
Yeah, it's definitely like that, especially trying to keep the tires on it because last year I definitely learned my lesson on that, and I did a whole lot better this year because I think Garrett Lowe and Steven beat me by, I don't know, like 8 seconds last year or something. So I did much better this year. So that's pretty good. I was actually kind of catching Steven there at the end. I was just inconsistent for a few laps. So I think I did pretty good doing that.
A fun night here. Is there anything you can take from this and from this car in particular and apply to your growth as a road racer, especially in the Coke Series this year?
Yeah, I thought Parker and Steven would beat me by quite a bit more. So I took it a little bit too conservative at the beginning. Probably cost myself half a second to a second. So I think if I wouldn't have done that, then I probably would have been right behind Steven there at the end and had a shot at second. Parker, probably not. So that's probably what I would take away from that, this road course racing, because, they've been dominant through time attack and practice and qualifying. So didn't think I'd have a shot, but sure enough, probably could have had a better one, but can't really complain with third place.
Not a bad run at all for Logan Clampett. And worth noting, Josh and Taylor, that the next time we go racing on a road course in eNASCAR, it's going to be in the Coke Series at Interlagos in Sao Paulo, Brazil, home to the Brazilian Grand Prix many, many years. Fun racetrack, flowy racetrack. I'm really excited to see the Coke Series go there for the first time ever. And we'll see some of these drivers in this race and some of these drivers at the point standings, at the top of the point standings, rather, in that race as well, Taylor Burris. Parker White, Wilson Clampett, your top three leaving this evening.
Absolutely, but keep an eye on drivers like Zach Sprouse and Jonathan Evans. Those are the ones who you got to keep an eye on, who will have the chance to move on into the second round of the qualifiers later on in 2025. Those are the ones you got to watch, so along with Nick Lucci, Mario Miranda, and John Forbes. It is a toss-up to see who can be able to have a shot to maybe in 2026 compete in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series.
There's that on the line. There's also the opportunity to make the championship race at Homestead, Miami here too. The next big race, Taylor Burris, though, for us in the College Series, the biggest, the baddest, the fastest track of them all in NASCAR, it's Talladega. Talladega, with the trucks coming your way February 4th. The time attack opened up today. It will close on January 30th, and February 4th is when we will see those cars on the racetrack. But before then, 1 week before, Josh Lee, it's the first eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series competition of 2025, the Clash from Daytona. And if you want an opportunity to figure out all the new combinations of teams and where your favorite driver and who your favorite driver is competing for this year, tune into the Clash. We'll go through all of it and give you a chance to get acquainted with the new lineups for 2025.
The most wonderful time of the year, James. The eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series is back, and with the Clash at the Daytona International Speedway, we get to see all the new teams like you just mentioned, but also get to see all the new faces and the new drivers that we're going to be seeing in this upcoming season of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. And oh, by the way, the Clash at the same track that we're going to start the season at as well. It's going to be a little bit of a season start preview.
Could be a season start preview as well, and that will come your way next week, Tuesday, January 28th, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern on the iRacing and NASCAR Twitch channels. A big thanks to all of our partners at eNASCAR and Playfly.gg for helping to put this series together, and a big thanks to our producer, Drew Adamson, and the production team at iRacing. For my colleagues here in the booth, Taylor Burris and Joshua Lee, I am James Pike. Congratulations to Parker White and the University of Maine at Augusta. Thank you so much for watching iRacing's broadcast of the eNASCAR College iRacing Series from the virtual Watkins Glen International, and we will see you from Talladega in a few weeks with the vehicles of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series coming your way in February.